So we're a few weeks into the NBA season, and I want to check in on the biggest free agency signings from this past offseason with players that switched teams, and I want to see how they're performing so far this season. Unfortunately, Paul George hasn't played yet due to injury, but he is coming back tonight, and Isaiah Hartenstein is yet to play for the OKC Thunder. So two of the biggest total contract players have yet to play yet. So the first person we could look at is DeMar DeRozan with the Sacramento Kings. And I think DeRozan has done a good job so far in Sacramento. I was a little bit worried that he could be hitting that certain age point and we could see some notable regression, but I think his play style is carried over perfectly from Chicago to Sacramento. He's averaging 25 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 4 assists with them so far. It's not exactly what Sacramento needed. They didn't need another 25 point per game score for a Sky because they do have a lot of that allocation going to De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis in the half court, but I think he's gelled in just fine. We're still seeing the progression of Keegan Murray in this offense. De'Aaron Fox is still getting his touches, same with Domantas Sabonis, and I think it provides them another player they can go to late in the fourth quarter. Last year, De'Aaron Fox was one of the most clutch players in the NBA, obviously, and Sabonis has done a solid job in the past in clutch moments, but also sometimes cannot be as aggressive as you may like. So I think getting DeRozan in the room, a veteran, a leader that can really slow down the game, orchestrate his offense in the half court, has been a nice bonus for Sacramento. I don't think it puts them over the hump, but I think he's been worth every penny so far. There's still a great offensive team with him like they were last year, but their defense is still lacking a tad bit. And now I don't know how that's going to be with DeRozan over the course of this season, but what you've seen so far, I think it's been a good signing. Now, what's not been a good signing so far has been Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for the Orlando Magic. We knew that he ended up getting a 3-year, $60 million contract from Orlando. It has a player option on the last year, and he has not been off to a great start this year. He's averaging 6 points. He is shooting 31% from the field, 21% from 3 on 4.5 attempts a night, and he just doesn't look super involved in this offense, especially seeing Paolo Banchero banged up. You think that KCP could take a little bit of a step, especially against Dallas when they were without Paolo. Franz is like dealing with an illness, and I feel like KCP at this point, we know what he is, but he's also benefited from playing with some of the best playmakers and ball dominant players this generation. He played with LeBron James in LA, and he was great for them, and then he goes over to Denver and plays with Nikola Jokic, one of the best playmakers of this generation as well, and a lot of people think is the best player in the NBA. So with that gravity not going towards him in that offense, now he's going to Orlando. With Paolo Banchero breaking out this year, now he's hurt. Will KC be able to be aggressive, get to the rim, knock down tough shots, or was he more of a player that benefited in that Denver Nuggets system? Because we know he can still provide you some good defense, some good leadership, but if you're paying him $20 million a year to be an inefficient shooter and not as reliable on the offensive end, and you'd rather go to like an Anthony Black down the stretch or somebody else, then this contract is not going to age the best. It's just 7 games in. I think he's going to be fine throughout the duration of it, especially when they get fully healthy. You just got to be a little bit disappointed to start off this year when you're looking at KCP, given that it was the biggest Orlando Magic free agency signing in quite some time. Now let's check in on Tobias Harris in Detroit. He got a 2-year deal worth $52 million. The Pistons had cap space. They wanted to use it on some veterans to complement Cade Cunningham. And if you're looking at it in the direct scope that Tobias Harris's play is going to reflect that contract, he hasn't been living up to $26 million whatsoever. He's averaging 12 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He's shooting 43% from the field and just 19% from 3. But you look at the development that we've seen this year from Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, and you could put that on their internal development, or you could put that on maybe the new head coach and JB Bickerstaff. Either way, I think if you're thinking that Tobias Harris and that contract signing has helped take a little bit of a load off them, has helped to space the floor a little bit more, then you can say this has been a positive signing. Now it's Tobias Harris. It's not like they were getting this all-star, all-NBA caliber player. Those days are far removed from his time in Los Angeles or maybe his first stint in Detroit in those days. But if he could just get that 3-point shot up a little bit, he doesn't really need to shoot 50% from the field for this Pistons team this season. It's just a 2-year deal. This year was more of the internal development from their backcourt in Cade and Ivey, and I think they've shown that development so far. The development from Jalen Duren at the 5, hopefully a year 2 jump from Masor Thompson when he's healthy, and something you can get out of the rookies as well this season. That's all they really care about in Detroit. So I'm not saying Tobias Harris, this contract is bad because he's not going to perform in the playoffs. They're probably not going to be in the playoffs. So as long as Tobias Harris could just become a better floor spacer, set good screens for those guards, and be a veteran mentor for them, then I think it's going to be fine going forward. But yeah, $26 million a year, you'd like him to be a little bit more efficient for you. He's not the greatest defender in the world. Now let's talk about Klay Thompson with the Dallas Mavericks. He got a 3-year deal worth $50 million, and Klay got off to a hot start this season, and everybody was talking about how Klay isn't washed. He's cooled down a little bit, but I think Klay has shown what his value is going to be in this offense to provide some good floor spacing, be a plus 3-point shooter. He's shooting 37% from 3 on 9 attempts already this season. But I think this is what you're going to get out of Klay Thompson, and you definitely take that for your mid-level exception that used in the offseason. You're not asking Klay Klay to be 2018 Klay, 2017 Klay. You're just asking him to be a good complementary piece that can go on these runs where he's going to knock down threes left and right and just play okay defense. He's not the best defender in the world anymore, but you can get that out of Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes down the stretch of the season. So I think Klay has been good so far, and I think we're going to learn what he's going to be in this complementary role to Kyrie and Luka, and no longer being the number 2 option like he was in Golden State for the past couple of seasons. So I think this contract is on par so far. But the contract that was used to replace Klay in Golden State has been off to a phenomenal start, and that is Buddy Hield in Golden State. He got a 4-year deal worth $37 million in the offseason. I was all over this contract, and I thought this was extreme value for Golden State. I know there's a cycle of Buddy Hield. He'll play really well. He'll shoot the ball lights out of the gym, and then he'll kind of come down to earth a little bit, and then you're like, all right, he doesn't play much defense. What could he be as a player? But he wasn't coming in here to be a top option like he was in his Sacramento days, or like when he got traded to Indiana, or what maybe Philly thought he could be down the stretch, even though he did have that one good playoff game against the Knicks. But I think for what he's going to be in Golden State, that's a deep roster. They can hide his defensive deficiencies. Now, they need to get back fully healthy. They need to get Curry back. They need to see still the progression of their young guys. Podziemski has been inefficient to start off the year. Kuminga has had his up and downs, but has been better since he's been moved to the bench. But Buddy Hield has been maybe the best value signing of free agency so far. He's averaging 22 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and the 3-point shot is as advertised. He is shooting 51% from 3 on 10 attempts a night to start off the season. Now, that is just not sustainable. Or maybe is it? Buddy Hield has actually been one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA since he got drafted in 2016. It's been Curry, it's been Klay, you've had your Harden and Dame phases, but maybe as your not top scoring option, Buddy Hield is as good as it gets in that specialist shooter role, and he is showcasing that coming off the bench for Golden State this season. And if you're just going to play him 25 minutes a night and in this high tempo offense under Steve Kerr, which I just really enjoy watching, and there's so many different guys that could pass, dribble, and shoot, Buddy Hield is going to be extremely valuable. And even if that comes down to earth a little bit, like he's not shooting 50% on 10 attempts a night, say he's shooting 45% on 6-7 attempts a night, that is still going to be a great contract. And those are the contracts I want to talk about mainly. One other value one I think that is off to a great start this season has been Chris Dunn in Los Angeles. This was another contract signing that I really loved. I did like Derrick Jones Jr. going to Los Angeles, but I kind of like the signing from Chris Dunn a little bit more from what we saw of him last year in Utah. And he's going to be this backup ball handler in Los Angeles that's going to bring over how good of a defender he was last year in Utah to a better defensive team over in Los Angeles. That's going to be playing more meaningful games. And I think Dunn has done a great job this year as an on-ball defender and providing value on that end of the floor for the Clippers. And if you're going to be playing out there with James Harden, Norman Powell, not the greatest defenders in the world in the backcourt, and that may be kind of nice saying that to them, that Chris Dunn can now give you that value to offset their defensive deficiencies. And Chris Dunn has been extremely efficient this year. 58% from the field, 50% from 3-on-3 attempts a night. Now, he has been a good shooter over the last couple of years in Utah, so maybe that's a real thing. I don't think he's going to shoot 50% from 3 over the course of the season, but if he could shoot north of 40% from 3, you take that, and he's going to turn into a good 3-and-D guard that could still pass well, and obviously could play all defensive caliber defense this season, and that's kind of what we saw in Providence. And maybe he should have taken that Jalen Suggs route a little bit more, instead of trying to be this high-scoring guard where he was trying to be that in Minnesota and Chicago. In his early days, he's bounced around a little bit since then, and he's really found his identity in this league. That is a menace as a defender, can knock down some shots, can play make. He doesn't need to be a star scorer by any means, but could be a very good role player. And I think this contract from the Clippers has been doing wonders so far for them this season. And the last contract I want to talk about is Chris Paul in San Antonio. I was a little bit worried through the first couple of games that I thought Chris Paul was showing that age. But you know what? He's getting older. He's not the player he used to be, but I think it's been a home run signing for San Antonio so far. He's averaging 12 points. He's averaging 9 assists, 4 rebounds a night. He's shooting 50% from the field, 46% from 3 on 5 attempts a night. Chris Paul has been a plus scorer for them this season, but I think he's still one of the best facilitators in this game. He still has some of the best vision out of any guard or any player in this league, and that's why I think Jeremy Shohan has shown flashes this year of improvement, Keldon Johnson improvement from last year to this year. It's because of Chris Paul and his vision on the floor is getting these guys much easier shots, and I think that has just done wonders for San Antonio this season. So I think this contract is so worth it. Even if he gets traded at the deadline, it's 1-year deal. There's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal, and Chris Paul is showing that this season. So yeah, that is gonna be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you guys think of these big contract signings so far down below in the comments. Maybe there's another value signing that I didn't mention that you think is doing well this year. Please let me know down below. Drop a thumbs up if you guys do enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.